All right, everybody, and thank you for joining me here at the First Alert Desk. This is a place where we like to keep you updated on your latest news headlines, but we also want to talk to you about some of the important conversations being had. And the biggest one right now, tax season is about to end. If you haven't filed, you got a couple days left. April 18th is going to be that deadline. Tuesday, that's coming up really soon. So final weekend for all of my tax procrastinators out there. Funny enough, Atlanta ranks #1 for the top tax procrastinators, and a lot of that has to do with tax related stress. And to help me talk a little bit about managing that stress and finding the motivation to last minute file is Dr. Annie White here joining with us. She is the author of the Calm Code, and we're going to get into some tips you can use if you're just trying to meet that deadline. Dr. White, thank you so much for joining us here today. This is a seasonal stress that a lot of people are impacted by, so let's talk about it.
It's a very common stress. So many people put off their taxes because they're unpleasant. Nobody likes to do their taxes. The problem is when we do that, we get penalized by the federal government. And a lot of people don't realize that that penalty is 5% of the outstanding balance every single late month.
Yeah, certainly. And, we talk about the options that are out there for people, the ability to extend, but it doesn't necessarily help ease your stress. You still have to sit down and really evaluate your financial situation and try to understand taxes, which can often be a complicated subject for many people who are just trying to, be good taxpayers. So I want to talk a little bit about finding ways to manage stress. A lot of people are going to spend this weekend trying to get that filing done, hopefully meeting that deadline so they can move past it. But what can they do to help ease that process as they navigate through either the online site or sitting down with a tax professional and getting this done?
Yes, great question. I want to give you 3 steps that's going to help everybody who's procrastinating their taxes. When you think about your taxes, nobody really wants to do them, and that's why people procrastinate. So when the thought, as soon as it comes into your head, instead of thinking all of the unpleasant things that go along with it, I want people to say to themselves, thank you, thank you, thank you that my taxes get done, and then feel all of the great feelings you'll feel when they're finished. That gets you into the right mindset. That'll help you get over that procrastination hump. Step 2, take a calendar or your phone and schedule the time to do it. If it's going to take more than one session this weekend, you've got 4 days. Schedule multiple times in your calendar and stick to them. Step 3, also schedule a treat after each time that you've sat down and gotten your taxes done. This will help so much, and you'll find that you're not dreading them as much as you were before.
And you mentioned all of those great tips, and it makes me think of the common reason why so many people procrastinate, and that it is hard to focus, to sit down for multiple hours at a time, go through boring papers, and just focus. Especially as a lot of us are doing this on our free time. So we get off work and we're dedicating our added attention to this necessary, but let's be frank, boring part of adulthood. So those are some great tips. I also want to talk about, the other side of that, and a lot of people are just worried about their financial situation. Maybe they didn't have a great year, or this is a really intimidating process for them to look internally that way. So how can they put themselves into this positive mindset as they're going through this process?
Well, the difference between getting your taxes done and not getting them done is a big penalty typically. And if people concentrate on the feelings that they will name 5 feelings when you sit down to do your taxes, name 5 feelings you will feel when you're finished. Will you feel accomplished? Will you feel proud? Will you feel relieved? Will you feel happy, excited? And get into the sensation of really feeling those feelings. And it will help you get over that hump of fear of getting it done and the fear of looking at that situation.
And let's talk about the fear of being overwhelmed. You know, we are in the final days of filing taxes, and for some people, it's not as simple as just uploading a W-2. You know, you talk about itemization and all of what can go into filing that extends the period of time that you're doing this. So that brings up the possibility of extension. You know, as somebody is dealing with possibly their mental health or the being realistic about the focus they can give to their taxes, at what point should they sit down and realize or evaluate whether they should go the extension route?
Well, with the extension, most people think if they file an extension, they're not going to have any penalty at all. And that's not true. You won't have the late filing penalty, which is the big chunk of it, which is 4.5%. But you still have that 0.5% of the outstanding balance that you owe. Now, if you're getting your money back on your taxes, filing an extension is no big deal. You can go online, you can easily fill out a form, print it, and send it in to the IRS by the 18th.
And you have done such a phenomenal job of guiding people through stress in their life. Financial stress is obviously a big one. What are some misconceptions around managing stress that a lot of people seem to believe?
Well, so many people, and this is the tragedy of stress, so many people are trying to treat the symptoms. The common stress advice is go ahead and sleep better. I want you to eat more healthy and exercise more. But the reality of that is high stress causes you not to sleep. It causes you to crave yummy foods, and it makes you very tired. So you don't feel like exercising, which actually complicates the stress because then you're more stressed because you can't get those things done. So in those situations, if you can, I gave you the triple thanks statement when we started. And the triple thanks statement is very, very powerful because it gets your mind off of the stress tracks in your brain and it gets you onto the gratitude, appreciation, and best possible self tracks. And it's very hard to feel really grateful and happy and stressed at the same time.
Dr. White, I so appreciate you coming on here with us, talking about this important part of navigating stress, especially for all my last minute filers out there. Atlanta is known for this, but we are going to find our motivation and make it through. Those are fantastic steps. Before we end here, I want to talk about the Com Code. It's this fantastic book that is really a guide to navigating, managing your mental health. And I want to get into some of this because it is a fantastic read, especially for many out there that are just trying to manage their stress.
Yes, it's a 6-week step-by-step process to dramatically lower your stress and anxiety levels based on the science of the brain. So you get new activities every single week. You start with 3 minutes twice a day. You work up to 8 minutes twice a day. And at the end of 6 weeks, you feel so much better than you did when you started. And what it does is it gets to the root cause of stress, which is actually how your brain works.
Dr. White, I appreciate you coming on with us, talking about all of these helpful tips. We're going to have a full link to the Com Code on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. Make sure you check it out.